Welcome to a deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on a really specific moment in time. Got this stack of reports you shared looking at global weather, basically June 4th and 5th, 2025. And just flipping through, I mean, wow, you see everything, right? Severe storms, floods, wildfires, really weird temperature contrasts. But we're not just listing headlines, are we? The mission here is to kind of unpack what this slice of time tells us about the bigger picture.
Exactly. And what's really critical is understanding how these specific events, they're not just random. They fit into this broader pattern of a climate system that's really being fundamentally changed by human activity. What happened around the world just on those 2 days?
Yeah.
Well, it's increasingly a direct manifestation, you could say, of these long-term climate shifts.
Okay, right. So let's get into some of the details from these sources then. One thing that just jumps out is the sheer intensity and how widespread the heavy rain and flooding was. You had flood risks in North America, like Kansas, potential flash floods in the Four Corners area.
Right, but that was almost minor compared to elsewhere. The reports show, devastating floods in Nigeria. Mokwa saw its worst in 60 years, apparently.
60 years, wow.
Yeah, and India, an unprecedented early monsoon arrival, just massive crop losses. And scientists there are linking it to unusual ocean temperatures, these atmospheric shifts they call western disturbances, basically storms from far away bringing unexpected rain.
Huh. And globally, didn't one report say flood disasters are up like 134% since 2000?
That's the figure. It's pretty staggering when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. But then, right alongside all that water, the sources are also talking about the complete opposite, right? Fire and drought.
Exactly. The contrast is stark.
You've got Canada, those awful early wildfires, especially Manitoba, burning areas already bigger than a typical whole year.
That's right. And provincial leaders there are explicitly connecting it. They're saying a changing climate.
Makes sense. Warmer temps, drier landscapes.
Precisely. Turns everything into, well, a tinderbox. And it's not just Canada. Northern China dealing with persistent drought, trying cloud seeding. Parts of Africa still battling dryness.
So this intense wetness here, extreme dryness there. This gets to that idea you mentioned, weather whiplash.
Yes, that's a key concept. Weather whiplash. Climate change isn't just about overall warming. It's disrupting the entire global water cycle.
Yeah.
You see, the same warming that lets the atmosphere hold more moisture, fueling those intense downpours,
Right.
it also ramps up evaporation. So that makes droughts worse, last longer in other places or, at other times. This rapid swing back and forth between extremes, that's a real hallmark of a destabilized system.
Okay, I see. And we also saw just incredible storminess temperature swings too, right? Parts of the U.S. East Coast were, 10, 15 degrees Fahrenheit above normal, while the plains were way below average behind a cold front. That quick change.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
And then across the Atlantic, Europe got hammered by this unseasonably deep cyclonic vortex.
It's like a really strong storm system.
Essentially, yes, a very strong low-pressure area. It brought level 3 severe weather warnings, that's the highest category, to places like Switzerland and Germany. Talking massive hail risks, up to 5 centimeters.
Ouch.
Spain had heavy rain warnings. And Menorca even had a immediate tsunami warning.
A what now?
Immediate tsunami, it's like a tsunami wave, but it's generated by atmospheric pressure changes from fast-moving weather systems.
Okay, that's wild. Just shows the amount of energy in the system.
Absolutely. All that energy drives these powerful events.
So here's where it gets really interesting for me. I always heard you couldn't really blame one single weather event on climate change, but the sources you shared seem to suggest that old idea is, well, kind of outdated now.
That's exactly right. The science of attribution, it's advanced dramatically. Researchers now use these very sophisticated models. They compare the likelihood or the intensity of a specific event, say a heat wave or a flood like the ones we discussed in our current climate, versus how likely it would have been in a sort of hypothetical world without human-caused warming. And this lets them quantify climate change's contribution. They can actually state, and with increasing confidence, that a particular event was made X times more likely or Y% more intense because of our influence on the climate.
Right, so that old saying is definitely fading.
It is, yeah.
So wrapping this up then, just looking at those 2 days, June 4th and 5th, We've seen these intense events globally, the storms, the floods, the fires, these contrasting dry and wet periods. And they're all happening within this warmer, more energetic climate system we've created.
Correct. And as you noted, attribution science is getting better and better at drawing the lines, linking many of these specific extremes back to human-caused climate change. It shows the tangible impact of these big, long-term global shifts on our daily weather.
And looking ahead, the projections, they suggest we're likely to cross that 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold, at least temporarily, pretty soon.
That's what the projections show, yes, high likelihood. Which means, unfortunately, these kinds of events are expected to continue and likely intensify.
So what does all this mean for you listening? I guess it means understanding that the daily weather you experience, it is fundamentally changing. And just being informed is, well, it's key to navigating what's coming, whether that's adapting locally or just understanding the global picture.
I think that's well put. And maybe the most striking takeaway from just looking at June 4th and 5th is that vivid illustration of weather whiplash, that tendency for rapid, almost violent swings between extremes. It really highlights how climate change is destabilizing the fundamental natural systems we depend on, especially the global water cycle. And that demands, urgent attention and some really smart management strategies going forward.